All right, it looks like we should be live on the internet. Double checking stuff. Yes. All right, cool. Hello, this is Tolhi, and welcome to, I don't know, let's build. It's the revival of T-Traps, for anyone who remembers that channel from long back in the day. But for those who aren't familiar with my channel, haven't followed me for a long time, you may not be aware, I am a programmer, have been for, oh god, 8-9 years now in the video game industry, and I had done some tutorials like very early on, but I haven't really done any like really programming focused stuff in like a long time. And I don't know, I figured you know what, I've got enough experience at this point, I probably could inform something. I've done a lot of prototyping work, so I figured let's jump into a stream, let's see what happens, and I'm just going to build some stuff. We'll see where this goes. I kind of am hoping for a little inspiration from you guys. My only inspiration going into this is that I kind of want to just maybe build a JRPG battle and then see where that goes. Maybe we'll build some players, some characters, some enemies, some stats, some attack, all that nonsense. But right off the bat here, probably going to start messing with some UI stuff and just start prototyping and building. The first thing I did was I went into the asset store and I picked up some audio, some free music loops. See what that sounds like. Possibly really loud. Okay, that's way too loud. Let us try volume mixer. Pull this over here. Turn Unity way down. Probably should have tried this before. Oh, I guess I could have. What does this do? Turn autoplay on. Oh, we can turn on looping. Oh, but it goes away as soon as we click off of it. All right, well, let's show an explorer. Oh, really? All right, fine, whatever. I was going to try and have some background audio, but what we'll do is we'll just throw this clip on here. We'll set it to play on awake, and let's hit play. Does that work? Great. So we'll have audio when we're testing stuff, which is going to be pretty much never for the first little bit here. Super sad. Can I? Okay, let's do some fanciness. Let's go inspector. Let's create a new inspector tab. Let's lock this inspector here, and then let's hit play with looping, and then... Haha! Alright. Now we have some background music. Alright, so... Generally, that's a trick I use to just kind of... You know, I'm not teaching. We're just going to build some stuff. So... I'll say that you can add tabs and lock them. It's really useful when you want to modify multiple components. So if I want to create a game object and be able to look at this object here with whatever its position is, and I'm like, oh man, I really want two objects to have the exact same position, and it's really hard trying to figure out what those numbers are, then sometimes I'll use lock tabs to just lock a parameter and then be able to swap back and forth between two different game objects. So that if I have this one here, I can kind of look and be like, oh, this one's 50-50-50. And then I can do that type of nonsense. All right, that's enough teaching. So let's unlock this, go back into here, hit play, go back to lock, and then hide this tab back here again. Cool. Now... I want to build some sort of JRPG kind of battle system right off the bat. So I'm going to start by building in Canvas. I will say that a lot of what I do tends to be more prototyping in existing engines. So starting something from scratch feels a little bit awkward, but I'm going to go with it. Also, I need to turn that back up there. Let's say that. I have no idea if that's going to be good or bad. Let's do that. Cool. Hopefully that's enough to just cut the absolute silence. Alright, so we made a canvas. Screen space seems fine to me. It's going to build this giant canvas space where most of the UI is going to exist. And then if I get to it in this video, we'll probably build a lot of the like little characters if we get to like an actual fight sequence in the actual main canvas space using sprite renderers. Let's set up a series of buttons. To start, that's going to be in the middle of the screen. Let's choose a resolution. Let's say we'll build the game at 1280 by 720. Fixed resolution, our game res. Okay, that looks awful. Based on that, I might want to change the layout of Unity a little bit to better accommodate. That looks absolutely awful. Let's double up on... Oh, there we go. I just didn't have all the panels pulled in as far as they could go. Okay, that feels better. Now, scene. I'm thinking of setting up some sort of like, I don't know, action meter system. Each character has an action meter. That action meter fills once it becomes their turn. Game logic pauses. Some classic Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 6 style stuff is kind of what I have in mind. If that's the case, let's just start by laying that out so that we can get an idea of what code we need to build. Let's create an image. Let's see if we can find UI RPG. Really looking for some more generic background textures. JRPG? That's going to be a no. Can we go JRPG into 2D art? It's going to give us a lot of character stuff. Really, what I'm looking for is free assets. Let's change this to lowest price. And again, we're more looking for UI. We're looking specifically for free. That's going to get us exactly what we want. Let's get rid of the JRPG tag. Let's get rid of the 2D tag. We are looking for just some generic UI GUI windows. Where would I find such things? Can we drop this down? Yes, we can. And more specifically, GUI. Okay, now we're getting closer to what I'm looking for. Some basic boxes. I guess technically the word we're looking for is not JRPG, but fantasy. Because if we're going to build something, might as well make something that looks at least somewhat nice. These look kind of cool. This seems potentially workable. This frame is mostly what I was trying to find. Something like that. Okay, let's download that. Decrypting, importing. Not really too worried about hierarchy stuff at this point. Let's see if we have another one here. Fight till death? Fight till dying. Oh, right, I have to unlock it first. What's this? This is only 25 seconds long. Okay. So we've imported this. Now we've imported this stuff here. This is a demo scene. We don't really need that. We mostly just want these UI panels. All right. Making something prototypey. Playing with audio levels still. Okay. Back to scene view. Let's drag in... Oh, these are... Oh, they can either be as a set. They've designed it as a set or as individual pieces. Let's use the individual pieces. We'll go with a large board. What are the import settings on this? Seems fine for now. I don't know if we need generate physics and some of this other stuff on by default, but I'm going to leave it alone until it becomes a problem. Set to native resolution. So this is the size that this image was created at because it's some ridiculous number. We'll say preserve aspect ratio so it looks okay. And then we'll just scale it down until it's about where I want it to be. You know what? I don't want preserve on aspect ratio. We're going to go into here. We're going to go into Sprite Editor. We're going to set this to... .24. Basically, we're setting this thing up so that it can be resized without messing with it too much. So we're going to hit apply here. So what I've done is I've basically sliced this such that it now thinks that the outer border, it will scale it so the outer border never scales, but the inner part will scale around. The way this is textured, it may not look great, but let's give it a try. So I've now set that up so that it knows where the edges of this thing is, which I've set to 30 in from the sides. So we're going to come in here. I'm going to move this over to here for now. I don't know a better spot for chat. Let's change this from simple to sliced. So now we can see that it's like not scaling this outer parameter, but it is scaling this inner part. You can see the kind of the stretching moment where it changes. But this allows me to kind of resize this thing a fair amount without squashing the edges, essentially. Oh, I'm sorry, this ain't a tutorial. All right, so we got this going, and then we're going to do... Probably this parchment might work really well as a dividing piece, because, again, if we're thinking about samples... Final Fantasy off screen. I'll bring it on in a second. Images. Let's bring up some classic stuff. Open image in new tab. Sweet. So really, we're looking at some sort of reference like this. So we want to have the character's name, their health, and then like a bar representing how close they are until they're ready to activate. That's what I'm trying to get up and running. Switch to game view. Okay. I'm actually going to save that image because I think it's a pretty good reference. I have no idea where this project folder is. So we're going to just drag it from the window directly into one of these folders. I'm going to try and at least separate some of the folder structure so that the assets we imported and any other assets I bring in are kind of separated. I'm just going to call this the reference folder. I'm going to add yet another inspector tab because I'm a madman. This inspector tab will go down here. We will click on this reference. We will lock it and then drag it up as much as we can. Oh, it disappears if we drag it. It's not working exactly how I would like it to, but kind of. Okay. Let's see. Control D, duplicate some stuff. I will explain some of my stuff. I will do some explanations. Okay. Okay, so now we've kind of got this set up. The like prompt menu technically is another element here in this reference photo. I have other references up. I'll bring this one on screen real quick just because it's also in, actually I'm just going to save it. We're going to save this. We're going to save it here. We're going to drag it into here as we want more reference. That's not what I wanted. Delete that. Why did that? Oh, ha ha ha. The image I tried to save was actually a GIF. Save image? That's not a good one. Why is it so difficult to find? What about this? Is this an image? Watch this be another GIF. No, that's a PNG. Fantastic. Save. Okay, drag that over here. So the base version of this is kind of just this basic version. And then when a character's turn to activate comes up, this little panel kind of overlays on top. I don't think this is necessarily the best UI approach, but I'm going to just go with what I have for reference. That way I can just build faster. Double click, rename things. So this is the character info panel. This will be the enemy info panel. And this will be the action panel. Fantastic. Now we've got to do, get rid of the button. Toggle this guy off for now. Change this thing to be full size of the canvas, set it all to 0 so that it basically is stretched out to be the perfect size. And then we will drag in this reference image so that that's actually there all the time. And then we can literally line this stuff up here. Oh, I'm so smart. Look how smart I am. Okay, we're going to put this in the corner like so, and then just drag it down till it matches-ish. Why am I building this? Because I feel like it. Because I feel like it. All right. Mildly reasonable. Next, I think, okay, so we've got a basic layout. We've got a bit of reference for what we're trying to accomplish. I think the next things is, okay, so the way I think about this stuff, and again, I'm not trying to overly explain, but I'm just going to go through my thought processes, is I'm trying to think about how would I start prototyping this? And I think my first thought is I'd like to get to the point where I have these bars filling. Once these bars filling, this action panel turns on. This action panel has some buttons on it. You're able to select those buttons. Once you select a button, it disappears. The progress bar empties, and then it refills, and then the panel turns back on. That seems like a real fundamental step. Like, simply, here's a bar. Once it's all the way filled, panel comes up. Panel, you click any button on that panel, panel closes, the bar empties, and then it refills. Let's just do that. That seems like a pretty straightforward thing to do. I'm going to change out reference images so that we can, no, it's not the same scale or anything. Okay, well, we at least know from this reference image roughly where this thing is supposed to be, so I'm just going to quickly position it. At some point I hit W or R or something. We're going to go back to the Sprite Editor, drag that in, and that seems fine. Okay, So let's get the info panel set up. So in here, we're going to need to have, I'm going to set up an empty game object. We're going to call this the layout handler. Naming. We're going to add a layout group, which will be a vertical layout group. This thing will have do not force children's spacing, upper center alignment for its children. This all seems fine. Okay, then we're going to create a new game object. This object is going under that layout group. This is going to be, oh wait, this layout thing needs to be the same size as the character panel. So we're going to make it scale outwards and make it the same size. So we have an info panel image, and then we have a game object which has a vertical layout group, which basically is going to make it so that once we have all of these pieces in here, they will like auto lay themselves out so that they're perfectly aligned up. We'll show that in a second. And then we've got the first version of one of those things here. The size of this thing doesn't really matter too well. Actually it does, because the vertical layout is going to use this size. So let's say that the thing is stretching out to maximum size. Is this the one I want? Why are you flipped by 100? What have I done? 10? 10? Zero, zero, huh? You think your size should be 0, 0. This is because the vertical layout group is messing with it, which is super annoying. So instead, we're just going to come in here and grab the value directly. This thing is going to be 800 by that, and it's going to be 15. And then we need to go into the layout group, and we need to auto text mesh pro text. We have to import things. Yeah, text mesh pro is just a better form of text. Anything of substance behind the idea of a JRPG, that came up like 4 minutes ago. Sorry, Lurks and Corners, I didn't see that sooner. Not really. There's not really much more that... that's kind of perfect timing on Amorphous, though. No, I don't really have a game plan, honestly. I needed something to go on, like just a game idea to work towards. And you know what? Building a like Final Fantasy IV style JRPG seemed like a simple concept. I mean, I could have built a side scroller was kind of my other idea, but I don't know, something about doing something more UI focused felt fun to me. So this is going to be the character's name, so that needs to be aligned on the left hand side. Its pivot point needs to be 0 so that it will be aligned to the left of this thing. Offset it by like 5, 10. The sizing in this thing is kind of weird, but I haven't really paid much attention. Let's see. Font size 36 seems too large. 12 seems too small. 18 seems too small. 24, that seems about right. We want this text to be... How do we want to align all this? We want to have this object here be a height a bit bigger, probably 45. I'm trying to think how many of these I'm going to fit. I can't move it because of the layout handlers managing it, but I'm thinking like 5 characters, so maybe actually 35 as a size. And then this thing here we want to be stretched to the size of the element. We want it to be left aligned still, going out 15 from the edge. Okay. I'm going to just create a image that is the size of this empty space. And I'm doing this mostly so I can get an idea of the layout handler. So the layout handler, we probably want to be in 55. Okay, the sizing's really weird on this. Say 60. Okay, we want to be in 60, which means this game object we don't actually want to be this full height. We want it to be child alignment upper left. Okay, and then to the left 30. That seems right. And then the width of the game object child we can bring in to about there-ish, eyeballing it. Not going to get too pixel pushy. And then we want the children to be offset from the top by about 30 as well, it looks like. And then if I duplicate this child a couple times and then give it some spacing of 5, we can see how the layout handler is starting to auto layout these pieces for us. So we've got some problems. Could we drop this to 25? If we drop this to 25, drop the offset from the top to 25 so it's a little more tight against the top of this piece. Honestly, the outer edge is too thick on this frame, but it's just a test piece. It's prototype art more than anything. It doesn't need to be perfect. But that would get us 5 elements. That seems actually pretty close. Close enough for now. All right, moving on. Okay, so we've got the children laid out to be the right size. Then we have characters' names. So this is Hero 1. And then next we have the health of that hero. Hero name. HP. HP needs to be aligned to the center with a pivot back on the middle of it. And then we probably want the text aligned. I think we've got enough out of this reference. I'm going to close this tab because having this extra one on the bottom is kind of messing with my standard, standard feelings on some of this. Okay, so HP / 3000. For the sake of lining this up, I'm going to just enable the image so that we can kind of see what this looks like up against the background of this. The name's pretty close. The HP could be a lot bigger though. How do we get the HP bigger? Because if we just make this 36, I think it's just the spacing between the letters on this thing. It doesn't need to be perfectly exact either. I'm just being I'm being lazy, essentially. By using the reference image as kind of just a one-to-one comparison, it just allows me to be super lazy. Let's give this thing more space. -5, -5. I'm just extending it past the actual size of the box so that the text can be a bit bigger. Making it a larger box, essentially. The top-bottom thing is super confusing, I know, but it's just bigger. And then if we turn back on our background image, that looks god-awful. I mean, to be fair, the UI we're referencing looks kind of bad. Honestly, it's kind of what you guys want to see. I feel like a lot of the whatever comes of this will be based off of just, I don't know. We'll kind of build as we go. It's too big. Let's go back to 36. Okay. And then I actually don't know what this last ability is. You're right. You're right. It has been 10 minutes, but I can be a perfectionist. It's my bad. Okay. So we don't know what that last thing is, but now let's get into the progress bar. UI, image. Did we get any progress bar type art? We did not. Back. Let's go grab some progress bars. Something that has progress bars. Let's get rid of the word fantasy. Fantasy doesn't matter as much now. More looking for just progress. I don't think any of... Well, that's... I mean, that is a progress bar. Just looks kind of out of place. It's likely the best I'm going to get for the free toggle. Let's drop GUI and just go 2D. If we go completely off, what is this under? This doesn't really have a tag, does it? Oh, this is under shaders. Don't want to mess with shaders today. Under free, I think this is what we're going to get. Ah. Import. Your price free. Could be paying free. Well, I've never. Every time we import stuff, we have to change the music. That's the rule. Let's see what else we got in here. Battle loops? Any of these pretty long? 53 seconds is the best we're going to get. It's not bad. Not bad at all. Did I import that yet? Yes, I did. Okay. Demo assets, extra assets, progress bar tile. I'm looking for the frame mostly. I know it had it. I am not seeing what I'm looking for in here. Scripts, fonts. I was really hoping for a really nice frame that we could... I was looking for this, but inversed. I wanted something hollow. Like slider background, I guess I could use, but it's easier, honestly. I can do this. I can do this. Okay. You know what? I'm going to build it myself. I don't like any of this stuff. I'm not going to delete it. Maybe we'll find some stuff in there later. Let's go into here. How is that audio level? Is that still terrible? We have gone into properties. We have made a thing that is 1 by 1. I am now going to save this. Save as. Image. PNG is fine. Actually, you know what? I might, for this particular situation, I might need a little bit more than that. So let's go 20 by 20. Honestly, 10 by 10 is fine. It doesn't even need to be that. I just need, even a 3 by 3 would be good enough. Save. Basic white texture. Okay. Awesome. So now we have a basic white texture. We can come into here. We can set the sizing on it. We can say that this thing is sliced 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 by 1, just to give us some room on the edges. Now we can come into here. We can use this basic white texture. We can now slice that. Now that it's being sliced, we can no longer fill the center. And look at that. Now we have a frame. Probably actually want a little bit more space. Let's do 4 by 4 by 4 by 4. Apply. So this is basically a 4 pixel frame on the outer edges. That's going to be enough for our purposes. Okay. This thing is 25 in height. Honestly, it's better to use this thing. 0 and 0. Okay. Let's make this thing like 250. And then let's set the pivot point to the far right hand side and then 0 it so it comes in. Okay, and then we can make, so this is the frame. Action bar, frame, ATB, fill. Okay, and then this one, we're going to duplicate this. We don't need to duplicate it. We can use the same texture. And we just won't slice this one. We'll leave it simple. This one here will tint some ugly brown of some kind. Great. This one goes here so that the frame is over top. If we want to get fancy, we could do some you know what? No. The fill bar is going to be just a standard like greenish color like that. Oh, look at that lime green. Let's maybe just bring that down a little. This thing will be filled. It will fill horizontally from left to right. Look at that. Progress bars. That green's still a little, eh. Now I'm feeling better about that. I think the other reason that this text is bothering me so much is that the white just looks absolutely atrocious. None of this looks better. Great. Moving on. Can we bold this? Ooh, I like it bolded. Italicized? No, bold is fine though. Underscore? No. Straight? No. Okay. Oh, I lost chat at some point. Chat, where did you go? Chat? Ah. Oh. I didn't want to alt tab. I've lost my bottom bar. The bottom bar is gone. There is no more bottom bar. Okay. I got chat back. Turn the music up slightly. And also this is... I think the just ambient music is a bit better. I don't like the battle. It's too intense. I feel like I need to be like going faster. Casual abstract. Now we're talking my language. Ooh. This is only 36 seconds long, but I think we have to believe. Okay. I am a little concerned that I've lost my... Oh, there it is. Huh. I can't get the bar back unless I minimize Unity. Okay. So we have the fill followed by the frame, because the frame needs to be over top of the fill. This thing can now be filled inside here. And then if we wanted to, we could do multiple characters, each of them with their own action bars filling. Great. Let us go from there. Well, that took a while. I did set it to automatic minimize because I want to have more space, but I was able to kind of go to the bottom of the screen and still be able to see it. Okay. But now it's no longer doing that. So we're going to call this character info. We're going to go into the project. We're going to minimize a lot of these other folders we don't need. We're going to make a folder for the JRPG assets. For time being, we'll do that. We're going to create another folder in here, which is going to be our prefabs. We're going to drag this thing into here. We now have this as a prefab, which means that we can generate it via scripts, and we can add these based on the number of characters in a battle. Okay. Like, we don't need the music, to be honest, but I just feel like the dead silence of me talking is, I don't know, it would drive me insane. So I'm trying to get something in here. And it was a free pack. If I get hit, I get hit. Text Mesh Pro. Create folder. I am making a folder for our scripts because I think it's time to actually begin coding. What have we been doing? What are we at? We at an hour and I'm about to start coding? Fantastic. I'm doing a great job of this. Let's see. We're making a script which is going to be character info view because this is the part that we look at. Oh, interesting. Anytime it has to re-import is when it stops this. Haven't had to re-import much because we haven't been modifying scripts. Let's see what happens if we double-click this. We're open in Visual Studio 2017. Neatos. Have not tested this. We'll see what comes up. That is way too far zoomed. All right. I guess maybe for the purpose of the stream, zoomed in is... No, I can't. Can I still do mono develop? I don't think I can do mono develop. I think I have to get Visual Studio working in order to be able to edit scripts. Preferences. External tools. Yeah, there isn't another option. All right, so we need to now install. Yeah, because I want to modify scripts as part of this stream. Is I actually want to get into like coding this thing to be set up properly. Welp. Let's see. What do we do? I guess we install Visual Studio, because there has to be versions that I can use. Let's stick this over here for a second. Preferences. Let's add. Free. Okay. This is what we need. It's downloading. Oh, go away. Go away. Yes. Go away. Continue. I don't care. Just give me my power to code. Let's turn the music back on. The eerie silence is killing me. What else do we got? What else came with the Fury music loops? What about this casual one? How casual is this casual? Oh, we're getting Visual Studio Online. Oh, it's so sneaky and fun. Oh, 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 oh. All right. Installing. Almost done. Look at that. All right, what do we need? I think it's that this is really loud for me, but I think it's probably audible for you guys. What do I need? Let's just install. I don't think I need anything in particular. Let's just install. Okay, I did add fine. I'll add this one and this one. Is that what you want? Do you want me to add those two things? Man, those things are huge. Fine. Fine. Not now. Okay, so it was fast because it wasn't really... Okay, well... It was going so well. I felt like I was doing things. I really did. Cancel. Yeah, there's no room on my drive. Tons of room in some externals, but that's probably going to take a while to move around. Yep, 100%. You try and get progress made, and then everything falls apart. Because there's Windows problems and other stupid things, and then you just end up not making the game all evening because you're just trying to fix the actual workflow to be able to build the game. Okay, I need a ton. Okay, can we uninstall Community 2017? Let's start there. Maybe that'll give us enough space. Uninstalling. Available. How much space was this taking up? Probably enough that we can get the other one installed. In the meantime, let's go back to Unity. Alright, so we've got this thing laid out. That was killing my soul. We basically do the exact same thing for the enemy side as well. So we want to copy the player info over to, well, we want to copy the layout handler. Duplicate the layout handler, drop it into here, scale it to be the same size as the enemy window, come into here to, what? Oh, I double clicked into the prefab. That's not what I want at all. For the reference for this, we want it to just be the name. So we literally don't need any of this other stuff. Break prefab. I have not used this latest version of Unity. I am not familiar with the fact that I can't just delete things from a prefab. Do I want to unpack prefab completely? I want to break this from being a prefab. How do you do that in 2019? Select. There used to be a just break prefab option. Oh god. Thank you for letting me know that the music was awfully overbearing. That's not very long. Let's just play with more audio settings until it's happy. Alright, let's find out what unpack prefab does. New stuff. So much fun. That's working out on uninstalling. Let's dig into break prefab Unity. Break prefab connection. This is from 2012. Not useful. Tools. Anytime past year. Prefab. Breaking prefab instances. Unpack. Prefab. Unpack. I want more information. Prefabs. Unpack is kind of the equivalent to break prefab. Prefabs now can be nested, so unpacking a prefab only unpacks the one prefab. Unpack prefab completely will also unpack any children prefabs as well. You can do overrides for component parameters for the prefab instance in your scene, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. It's been renamed. Fantastic. Unpack. And then we can delete this. Delete this, delete this. This character info doesn't need to be nearly as big anymore. It only needs to be about that big. And the hero name can literally take up the whole section. Okay. And this is now the enemy info. Cool, cool. If we wanted to, we could add HP and stuff if you wanted to be able to see what your enemy's HP is, but I don't think that was the thing. this game anyways, so I'm just going to leave it as the reference. It just means that you can put a prefab inside a prefab, which never really worked before. It would always just become the top level prefab. It's cool they got it, but it's not really the biggest deal. And then we turn enemy info into another prefab. Cool. Oh, I see these little arrows. Is that... Okay, the arrows is how I go into the prefab itself. That's cool. That's all new to me. Nothing installed. Install community. I don't think I need any of this extra stuff. Let's just continue. Let's just install nothing and see if that's enough to get us up and running. Okay, while we're waiting for that, let's talk about plans. So we want to have the... Let's do some bad coding. It's my favorite way to code. It's singletons. Unity. I might be able to find this on the asset store, but this feels faster in some regards. Oh, this doesn't look like good spots. What? Why? Okay. This 100% looks like what I want. Fantastic. Core. We're going to create a new C# object. This will be singleton dot. It's already a CS. I don't need to add .cs. Right. I don't. It's not done installing yet. I can't get there. Not now, maybe later. Dark style, start Visual Studio. This is finished. Good, good. So what was that code I just stole? So basically singletons are a design concept. I do not want to create stuff. Instead, I want to come into here and I want to go into preferences. I want to change this to open 2019. How do I actually get this to register 2019? I guess I have to find the executable for it. I'm gonna close Unity, save my sample scene, and then we're gonna reopen it and see if it figures itself out. Copy and pasting code is only a bad habit if you don't know what the code does. And I know exactly how to write a singleton, I just don't feel like it, so no, okay, it doesn't know where it is. So I do have to actually figure out where the executable is for Visual Studio in order to be able to have this thing open it. Super lame. This is project settings. I actually want preferences. And then we want to browse. I'm doing this off screen. I think I need to go into my C drive. And then I need to find Visual Studio. Sorry, this is slowly killing me here. That's Visual Studio 2015. That's the shortcut. That's not what I'm looking for, though. Microsoft Visual Studio under Programs. Okay, I found it. Programs x86. Microsoft Visual Studio No Words 2019. Community. I lost it. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. Community Commons 7. We're too far down the rabbit hole now. IDE Dev Environment. I think it figured it out. Oh, it's beautiful. So happy. I mean, it's legitimately things you might run into. I think so. Okay, now that I've had a moment to stop and pause because I've been kind of running really fast. There's been some questions about like why did I choose this particular thing. I think there's a lot of value in starting with something simple like a JRPG because the JRPG gives you access to. I need some of those basic things. I mean, at least it told me. If we build up to like having a character and having a character that has stats and like HP, attack, magic. Continue. It had to close the application. I just wanted to make sure I had saved everything before it did so. If we have to make like HP, attack, all those different types of stats for these characters, that type of structure for a hero or for a player could be moved over to, I don't know, a tactics game like Final Fantasy Tactics. Similar concept, just now a little bit more advanced with like player movement and movement through an arena. But you could also move it into something like a Zelda game where that HP, maybe the attack values still apply. You could have like a Secret of Mana game where you're swinging a sword, attacking. There's something about starting with I'm going to build a character. That character has a bunch of things associated with them, and those things could be used in a bunch of other types of games. It just seems like a good starting point. And the ability to go, hey, this guy's turn goes, I hit attack, I tell him to attack, I choose which guy to attack. Like there's just a lot of stuff there that we can just maybe use in the future or scrap it all. But at least it's like a good, really solid thing that if I build it, I could use it for other concepts that I could very quickly prototype. It's about building things that I think I want to start here anyways with building stuff that I think I can reuse. That way, if we want to try and prototype a side scrolling shooter that has ships that have full-on RPG stats like a magic defense, a melee attack, a defense stat, like all of these different values, and then like different abilities and actions that they can perform. Maybe you can pause time and like perform an epic attack that just does a like Final Fantasy style shot on the enemy, and then it switches back to real time where you're just shooting a basic attack. Like, I don't know, could be cool. But if we have the basic structure for something like this, then it's much easier to prototype that idea. Oh, I remember the Oblivion level. I remember it. It is still installing packages, but we downloaded all the packages. Now we're just installing them, so that's fun. Is there anything else we can do here while we're waiting for code to become available? Because we did spend quite a bit of time laying stuff out. I guess we could do the action panel. Let's grab the layout handler. Layout handler goes here. Layout handler is still pretty much doing the exact same thing it's been doing all along. We're going to start with a new... We're going to create an empty. This empty will be, again, the button sizes. So let's go with 25 again. Seems like a reasonable size. Actually, I think we can go 35 with these. And then the width can be... Oh, this thing's far off. That's why I was like, the paneling on this action bar or the positioning seems really off, and it was because of that. Okay, there we go. Now that's in the position I would expect it to be in. So now we can do this, and then we can have this thing be the action input. This is actually probably going to be the hardest part, because this is, I guess this is technically command button. This thing here will probably be the most complicated thing to code. Oh man, that's fantastic. Chef, that is fantastic. I'm super, super happy to hear that. That's so cool. Let's put this music back on. I like this one. Oh, I don't know how long we've been streaming. I mean, you haven't actually missed that much stuff. It's mostly been just laying out UI elements and downloading some random asset bundle packs from the asset store and trying to get a Visual Studio installed. I mean, so I've done 8 years of Unity development. I think when we originally did T-Traps back in the day, when I was trying to explain code, part of my problem was that I didn't feel very confident as a junior programmer at the time to be able to talk about a lot of this stuff. I just didn't feel like I was getting the points across very well. But I've worked with Unity for 8 years now. I kind of feel like maybe there's some things that I could talk about quickly, prototype some things. People might learn from that. Honestly, I think it might be more entertaining than like educational, because I'm not really putting a focus on trying to explain myself. I'm more just rambling as I go. But I don't know, same nonsense I always do. Okay, and then... Oh god, what are you complaining about now? Okay, it doesn't like one of my frameworks apparently. Let's download the latest framework, because why not? Oh no. No, I have to go into like a Windows thing or a Chrome thing. Well, no, I wasn't doing Unity back then, but like I was more doing generic coding because it felt like it was too much to get into Unity right off the bat, because I was trying to do education from the very start all the way up to like, here's how you get into stuff. What frame rate did it say? What did it even say it wanted me to download? Oh god. Can I open the singleton yet? But then I didn't do any Unity stuff for like the past like several years, even though I've worked with it a lot, is mostly because there's a lot of really good tutorials out there for Unity. So if you want to like go learn Unity, go to Unity's website. Like they do live streams like every week. Like it's a fantastic amount of content that's way better than anything I can put out. But at the same time, I don't know, I thought this could be fun, and a lot of you guys seem to be showing up, so maybe it is. Okay, so it wants me to download .framework 7.1. Either that or I change the target framework to 4.61, which is what I have installed. That's like 4 older. You know what? Just change it. Just change it. What's the worst that can happen? All right. We are in. I don't know what this nonsense is here. Can I just go away. I don't like you. Whatever you are, go away. Can I not? Haha, gone. All right. Ew, what is... there's all this stuff on here. Yay, singletons. All right, so I like singletons. Singletons are great. This is a simple singleton class that is going to do a bunch of nonsense for us. Let's see if we can get it operational. So where was that example that we took this from? So we need to make a my singleton class. Okay, use this as reference. Create. I'll explain what this is in 2 seconds. So managers. Generally, when you write code, you write classes, and those classes can be used anywhere by anything. There's a way of defining certain aspects of a class as static, which says no matter which class this is in, this variable kind of exists irrelevant to all of that nonsense. It's fixed. It's kind of like, think about, I don't know, chocolate M&Ms. I can say, hey, this is what a chocolate M&M is. It's a red M&M, or this is a chocolate M&M. It can have a color, it can have a size, it can have a filling type. You can set a bunch of parameters about it, and then you can go off and make a whole bunch of those chocolate M&Ms. But if I was to make a static variable that said like position in the world, that static variable would be the same whenever I call it. Maybe that doesn't make any sense, but essentially what a singleton does is says, hey, I'm going to make a reference to myself that is static. And then other things can call that class without having to call go find it and access it. They can just go, hey, that class type dot instance, which is the variable that stores itself, and then it can access that class from anywhere. There can only be one of them, but generally they're super bad because you can call them anywhere and anyone can access it and anyone can do stuff to it. But when you're quickly prototyping things, it's just, I don't know, it's really fast. On a 1-person team, singletons tend to be really good. On a big person, like multiple person team, tends to be really bad. That oversimplification, but that's the way I've generally heard it described. Okay, so we want to grab this thing. This is basically saying, hey, this manager is now a singleton of its own type. I don't need to give any of this other nonsense, and then it can reference nothing. Okay, that should be it. That should be all we need. It doesn't like that. Non-generic type singleton used. Apparently I didn't save before closing. That's weird. It's weird that it didn't. Okay. It's happy. It's no longer complaining. It's closed. Let's reopen. Did it save my scripts? Is it going to tell me every time that I have the wrong version of framework installed? Because that's going to be annoying. The thing is, there's 2 versions. There's developer pack and there's a run pack. I don't know which framework it wants me to install. I like how it opened it, but didn't actually open it. Yeah, it's going to complain every time. And it's preparing the solution. Okay, it seems to have saved. But it's not saving like any of my settings, like how far I'm zoomed in and stuff. And then it's making me reload every time. Interesting. Okay. That all seems bad. I don't know why it's doing that. I think... Okay. Let's take a step back. We finally got Visual Studio up and running. We've got some scripts. I got a singleton, which is basically... The reason I went and grabbed that right away before even really diving into anything else is that I know I'm going to want singleton functionality. I'm going to want to be able to reference a thing from other things. It's how I code. It's how I prototype quickly. Think of it almost like it's a crux. It's just a thing that I need. So I'm going, or it's a crutch? No. A crouch? No. What's the thing when you have a broken leg? Moving on. So now we want to have... Okay, let's reiterate what we were originally doing. So what were we attempting to do? We were trying to set it up so that we could have a hero. That hero would have an action bar that fills. When that action bar fills, the action panel would turn on. There would be a button. I push that action button. Push a button on the action panel. It would close itself, and then this bar would reset to 0 and start filling again. That's what we're attempting to achieve. It's a pretty simple goal, pretty straightforward. Let's try and build that. So first, I think it's this progress bar. So we want this progress bar to fill over a fixed amount of time. I feel like probably a good idea to start with the character scripts. I'm just going to keep making folders. I'll figure out organization better at a later point. So there's character info view. And then we also have probably a character model, which represents a character, if I spell it correctly. And then character manager would probably contain a list of character models. This isn't really a character manager. It's really a combat character manager. This is the character manager for when we are entering into a battle. You're really going to make me reload every time? I could untick the... Okay, well, let's download developer pack for this thing, and let's install network frame code. Change that to combat character manager. This is going to contain a public list of character models, which needs to be changed to model instead of ml. Okay. This needs to be fixed. Control space autocompletes because magic. Characters in combat. Okay, so now the combat manager has a list of characters that are in combat. This is something that would be generated or inputted on entry into combat into random encounter. For most of this demo, we'll probably just hard code a lot of these values with the assumption that at some point we would have some sort of like battle manager that would launch into a random encounter and fill in some of this stuff at a later point. Sorry, I'm just getting the other installer installed. Okay, so that's 4.71 that it keeps complaining about. All right, so now we have the character model. For the time being, we'll say that character model has a public float variable, which is basically just a number, which is ABS timer, action bar system. So AB timer is probably a more accurate name. I actually think I'd rather name this action bar max, action bar current, action bar max can set to something like 100, action bar current defaults to 0. On update, we get MAB current plus equal time dot delta time. This is the time in between frames. Oh, what's going on here? Are we hard positioning and organizing them based on how many people are in the party? What is the M, by the way? Naming convention, I imagine, for menu? Yeah. No, so M stands for member variable. So anything that's in a class is a member variable. If I was to create a float inside of a function, I would start with a lowercase. So this would be AB timer temp in function variable. But knowing that this thing here starts with a lowercase a means that it's a local variable that was created inside of this function. M underscore is just a naming convention for myself that says that this is part of a class. I don't know, it's what I've used for past 8 years. Every company I've worked at uses it, basically. Okay, where did my successful installation of the developer pack? Oh, I think I already installed this. I think that window came up and I didn't notice earlier. So now if MB current is greater than MB max, so essentially what we're doing is every frame we're adding to the current action bar, and then if the current action bar is ever greater than the max action bar, then ready for action. Straightforward, simple, easy to use. I think that's it. I think that's really all I want. And then we want to have the character info. On update, this thing needs to have public. We need to be using UI elements for this. So UI, we are going to do public image m fill bar. On update, fill bar dot fill amount is equal to character controller dot instance dot character manager combat manager dot instance dot m. Is that not how we define singletons? Is it not by instance? It is by instance. Why are you complaining about this? Oh, did I do dot instantiation? We're gonna be super janky about this. Make a new variable. We're gonna say this thing returns a float value, which is the progress, the action bar progress. It takes in no variables. It is the return the float value of m AB current divided by m AB max. This will give us a value between them. And then we probably also want to make sure that this whole chunk of code is only getting called on update if AB current is less than max, so that we don't continue to increment this. And we want to make sure that once we go over AB max, we set it to max. And then just to be extra super safe, we can do math.min, which will basically return the lower of the two numbers. And so once we divide by these two numbers, we can also return 1. Oh man, chat's blown up. All right, what's going on? Thanks for dropping by Lurks and Corners. Okay, cool. Yeah, I went over this a moment ago, but I put m in front of my variables to represent that it's a member of a class, is essentially it. But that's just, I don't know, that's what I've learned. I'm doing what I'm used to. Okay, so then this can now get progress. Did I not name something? This is public. AB progress. Should be able to get AB progress. We can. Fantastic. This is super hard-codedly bad magic numbers. Never do this, but I just want to see if this works. Okay, so now we have a character model that updates every frame. This character model shouldn't be a mono behavior, because this isn't something that I'm going to put on an object in the game. Instead, this thing here, which is a mono behavior, will update it for us. So anything with the update function in Unity will basically just update will get called every frame. So we can call update. So we can do for int I equals 0 or equals 0, where I is less than the count of the number of objects in this list. We plus I. We're going to loop through all of the elements. Oh my god. We're going to loop through all the elements in this list, and at each index we are going to call update. We have to make it public. Okay, so now this thing will update all our objects for us. Okay. Good, good, excellent, great. We're doing good. So we have a bunch of objects which are in here. This is a public list, but because I've made this now no longer a mono behavior, I also need to instantiate these objects technically on start. Again, this is something that would be handled by some sort of external manager when you start at combat, but for the sake of right now, let's just hard code in some stuff. So m combat manager is equal to a new list of models. Probably don't need to do that, but I'm going to do it anyways. And then we're going to add a new character model to this. Okay, we'll just have one for now. That will get looped through. We can access that via here. I want to get rid of the magic number. I know it doesn't matter right now, but we're just going to do it this way instead. So this character view has an index, which is 0. We'll get that index from the combat manager, grab that model, check that model's progress. The progress should update over time. Now we just need to hook it all up in Unity. So let's add a character oh, okay. Switch to the non-locked version. So let's add a character info view. We already have. Fantastic. So we've added this component. We've dragged that onto here a while ago, I guess, at some point. We're going to drag the fill bar into this image slot. We're going to leave the index as 0 here. We're going to make sure to actually add a manager to the scene. So this will be our combat character manager. Doesn't really matter what I name it. It doesn't have to be the same name. That gets added. We just need it in the scene so that it will get updated and create our pieces for us. This thing will access it. I think that's all we need. Let's hit play. Let's hit play and see what happens. Nothing. Great. Oh, not nothing. Oh. Okay. That's fine. The problem is that this image is the same size and it needs to be slightly here because it was basically filling for the first little bit behind the frame. So we need to do that. So we need to come in here. We need to make this here. Did I hear bits? Progress. Progress, cheers. Fantastic. I have way too many windows open over here because of all of this nonsense with the Visual Studio, which seems to have resolved itself. Okay. Also, object at index 0 was null, so that's also fantastic. When did that happen? That was on rebuild. Interesting. So we move that there, and we're going to move... Open prefab. Pull this apart. There. That should be a bit cleaner. It should be closer. Interesting. You don't have to apply prefabs anymore. Well, interesting. Interesting. Okay, so that should now be filling immediately as soon as we get into the experience. It is still not looking right. What has happened? No, that's right. Let's just see what happens. It does look like it starts here, though. Is there not an apply prefab anymore? Some weird stuff happening. Okay, so that progress bar started nearly immediately. I'm used to working with something from 2018. I'm not sure which version, but I'm like about a couple months behind. Generally, you stick to one version of Unity when you're working in games, and then you don't update that often unless you're like still in the early stages. But once you're kind of in a stable code base, you don't want to update Unity because it may cause impacts on the game, and updating Unity can sometimes be a hassle, and it's sometimes easier just to leave it because you never know what changes have been made, and it could throw everything off just because you've changed the version, and the version you're on works fine. There's no reason most times to have to move on. Okay, so that action bar was filling. Honestly, it was filling a bit slow though. So what we're likely going to want to do is we're likely going to want to have the character model to have some form of speed modifier. So this is going to be essentially a variable that is represented by initiative. That seems wrong, but great. Spelling does not need to be correct when you're coding. So this character's initiative is 10. I don't know what the exact formula that would be for something like this, but for the time being, we're basically going to times delta time by initiative. So now that progress bar will go 10 times faster. Ideally, there'd probably be some sort of formula. Interesting. Okay. Still getting a object at index 0 is null. And I'm having to, I'm going to guess that's probably because this thing here is calling update before the character manager has initialized the stuff. The stuff. We're going to go with the stuff. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go public. We're going to return a float value. We're going to get AB progress for character. That AB progress will pass in an integer index. We will check to see if index is less than the combat character count so that we will not go over the bounds. Then we will do character dot index dot AB progress, and we will return that so that we are not directly accessing the variable, but instead we are passing ourselves through a function. It is upset because not all code paths return something. So otherwise we return 0 as the progress, as our default value, so the progress bars will be empty. Now we can go back into the view, and then instead of calling the variables directly, we call a function so that there's more security over the stuff the singleton is doing. Yeah, but I'm not entirely sure how to fix it, and this will at least cause it to stop breaking for now, because I don't like seeing the red. The red is bad. When you see red, bad things. We could try closing and reopening Unity to see if that has any impact. Nope, still no. Yeah, you're right. It's something to do with base. It's not to do with my stuff at all. Upsetting. Let's close. Close and reopen. We're also going to close Visual Studio. We're going to just start from scratch. Okay. Oh, it's just a constant thing in this version? Sad. Super sad. Okay, so this is now filling a bit faster. Depending on the character's initiative speed, that'll determine how quickly they move along this progress bar. That'll likely need to become some sort of formula later in the experience. But we now have a progress bar that's filling. That is 100% what we are trying to accomplish. Now for the next part of this, which is that once the progress bar is filled for any particular character, we need to pause updating the characters. I think that's right. And then open the action bar. I think that seems fairly reasonable. It'll return. It always returns. readjust slightly. Okay. This is doing things. This is doing things. If M character in combat, I dot get APS progress isn't really what we want. We actually want to have something else. Public bool ready. I don't think this is necessarily the right way to do this. I feel like there should really be states for this. Do I want to write a state for this? I probably should write a state for this. No, we're going to just use bools. Anytime, don't do this. This is bad. Don't do it. This is bad. This is a whole stream. Don't watch this stream. It's bad. Is ready. Anytime that you feel like you need to write a piece of code that looks like bool is ready, you probably actually want an enum with like a state machine. False. But for the time being, until we have more, once we write a second bool, that's when I really have to write a state machine. Or at least write an enum. Get some switch statements. Those are a bunch of words. So this guy is ready. He's ready to take an action. And then we can do public bool is ready, which returns M is ready, like so. And then if okay. Really, we shouldn't be calling this individually. We should be calling this first. Bool check is any character ready for action. This is the first thing we do when we update the game. We call this function. This function calls this for loop. This for loop has a bool, which is result, which equals false. We return false unless one of the characters is ready, in which case we return true, and we no longer need to keep searching because at least one character is ready. And then this can store that at this level, which says a some character. What do we want? What do we want? Okay, you guys are asking for the enum. I'll get back to it, but I want to do this first. So the reason that I'm doing it the bad way first is that it's faster, and I'm not entirely sure where the state machine should really live, because at this point I'm also adding an is action is ready action up action moment, action needed. Like something about this feels weird to me. Like it feels off the way that I'm writing this, and I'm kind of just working through it and just like, I'm going to keep building rather than stop and think about it. I'm going to just keep prototyping. At some point I'm going to stop and look at this and go, okay, it doesn't actually make sense for the character to know if it's ready. It's probably the character manager who wants to know if someone's ready, and then I'll want to change the state machines and add enums and stuff at the right level. Like what level do we want it at? Do we want it at the top at the manager? Do we want a level below at the character? Do we want multiple levels? I like that. M action is go. All right, so then if not action is go, update. Actually, you know what? Action is ready is a little more descriptive. Because if not action is ready, then you can update. Otherwise, if an action is ready, then don't update. This just reads clearer in my mind. Okay, so we first check to see if anyone's ready. If anyone's ready, then we don't update anyone anymore. Okay. I should be able to modify the default constructor of this thing is what I'm attempting to do. Slightly confused why this isn't working. Action is ready. Character in combat. These are like... Oh, I know why, because I'm bad at syntax. I want to do squirrely brackets at the end and then do initiative and then set it to something like 15. Okay, fantastic. And then we still need semicolons. Somewhere? That doesn't seem right. Don't I need a semicolon here? No, I guess it would complain if I didn't, or if I did. And then we'll add another character who has an initiative of 10. And then we'll add another character who has an initiative of 12. Okay. So then, again, this would be pre-generated, but I'm just hard coding some values in because we don't have a concept of like a random encounter instant manager. Basically, there would be another level above this that would say when you get into a random encounter, who is currently in your party? This is currently in your party. All right, enter this data into the combat manager so that the battle starts with the right characters with the right stats and everything. But at this stage in the game, we're just going to add some character models directly in order to get this up and running. And magic numbers. I have it up. I don't think we're going to get to it in this stream, but I did want to go into CSV parsing and writing like character name and then like initiative, and this would be George, and he would have an initiative of 10, and this would be Steve Daves, and he would have an initiative of 15, and then writing a parser that parses this into an in-game JSON file, and then using that JSON file at runtime in order to generate this data. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Generally, yeah, Google Sheets is a good portion of what I do day in, day out. But let's continue with this, and then we'll fix the magic numbers using Google Sheets, importing magic data later. So these are 3 characters. This is technically where I'd like to get into generating these elements, these character infos, based off the character data. Because right now we just have one hard-coded one. For the sake of this setup, I think we can do this, and this might work. If I've written everything correctly. Those are some characters. And now when hero 1, top hero, they all pause. Yes! All right. We wrote code and it does the thing that I was thinking it would do. Again, I would like to get these generating so that there's a character combat view manager who handles the instantiation of these objects. But for the time being, this will be fine. And mostly for clarity, I'm going to do this. All right. Now, we have that. We have the things. Things happen. Action is needed. This is the point where once those action bars get all the way full, we want to open the action panel. Okay. So, someone needs to be in charge of that. I think at this point, this is probably when we'll make the combat view manager. Who will manage most of this setup. Asking me to reload again. Interesting. Did you delete a bunch of my variables again? Why? Oh, there's ambiguity between the view manager. I see. Okay, so this thing here is not, this is the combat view manager, not the combat manager. There we go, fixed. All right. So this thing isn't going to have references to the character models. It may need a start. It may need an update. It probably doesn't need these functions. All right, there we go. We're back to the beginning. So now we're going to need a reference to the action panel, which we'll do as a game object reference. Action panel. And then we can do, for now, this needs to be more complicated later, combat character manager dot instance dot action. No, sorry. Whoa, what did I hit? Oh, I hit build or something. Stupid Visual Studio buttons. Hotkeys. M is action ready. If action is ready, then M action panel dot set activity to true. Honestly, for the sake of simplicity, this is probably the better way to do it. If action is ready, the panel is up. Let's just do that for now. Okay, so now we have another manager, which is going to handle a lot of our visual components. The way that I'm building this is the combat character manager, which I think I might just rename to combat backend manager, or even just combat manager, is mostly handling a lot of the just what's happening in the engine in behind the scenes, running a lot of the updating and stuff like that. The combat view manager will handle most of the UI updating. Rename this to match. Remove that component. This needs to have a copy of the action panel. Save. Okay. Okay. So now if we run this, Hero 1 should get there first. And then when it does, it will activate the action panel. Fantastic. Look at that, writing code. Now, at this point, let's turn the action panel on. We have the command button, which is really just a layout piece. And then we're going to create a new button. Sigh, do I want to go find button art? Not really, to be honest with you. This is button art, though. Does this look okay? What does it look like? Is this button not even a GUI? Oh, it's legacy? Ugh. Just be a sprite. Okay. What does it look like now? Tinting isn't really going to help this thing. I mean, it is just a button. It's clear that it's a thing I can click on. All right, let's add some text to it. The default text isn't super great, so we're going to add Text Mesh Pro. This thing will also be resized to be scaled to whatever the size of its parent is. It'll be center aligned, and then probably size 24, attack, and then we probably actually want this left aligned, and then 15 out from the left and 15 out from the right. And then bold? Maybe blacker text? Not pure black. Somewhere in the brown range? That's not super visible. Can we outline it? The thickness can be like that. Oh, this is for all. I'm modifying all versions because this is on the material. That's not great. That seems all right. I like the way that looks. That's fine. So now we have an attack button. Okay. If we were to take this and duplicate it, we could have up to 4, but just barely. Can we make these fit a little bit better? This is 35 right now. Can we go 30 instead? Is that still readable? Yeah, and that fits a bit better. Okay. Okay, so we have a button. I'm gonna drag this into the prefab tab as well for now, because we're likely going to want to generate these buttons at runtime based on the character. So different characters would have different actions. Those different actions need to be generated based on which character brought up the action panel. But for the time being, we're just going to set up one button, and that one button is going to call, again, just for the sake of this demo, directly to the combat manager, and it's going to change the character combat manager. Can I not directly reference the variable? Huh, interesting. Normally I feel like you can just directly call on... No, maybe you can't. No, for default variables like enabled you can, but not others. Okay, so we need to go into here and we need to make a function for this button to call. Which we will call something, 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 dark side. Actually, this is something that's happening on the view side, so it likely makes more sense for the view manager to be called when this updates, and the view manager can update the backend for us. Button 1 input received. This will get renamed in a moment. And then when this happens, we call character combat character model dot instance dot ready for action equals false. See, this is where this is going to start to get a little bit more dicey, and this is why I didn't want to write all the state machine stuff right off the bat, because technically when we find a character who is ready, we don't just need to know that a character is ready, we need to know which character is ready. Because we need to know, number one, which actions we want to display in the action bar menu, but we also, or in the action menu, and we also want to know which character to reset their action bar to 0 once we reach the end. That is a great question. How much longer am I going to stream for? Oh, probably another 20 minutes. Someone try and remind me in 20 minutes or so on the hour. I should probably stop. Yeah, I can go for, if I have a hard cut off at 10, I think. Oh man, we're getting there though. I had one original goal for this that I came up with midway through, but I think it was a pretty good one, which is to get the action panel to show up, close, and then show up again. And then we're so close. So we need to know which character specifically. Again, I'm going to hack a couple things and we can fix it in a later stream if we come back to this. Otherwise, this is dead code I'll never touch again if you guys don't want to see more, so might as well hack regardless. Current character? Current active character? Equals null? Not name of, null. Okay. And then if a character is ready, we say the current active character is equal to this character model. Okay. And then we can probably change this to be not a bool, but if not null. So instead of all this bool nonsense, we can just see if we have a active character set, and if an active character is set, then we are ready, essentially. Before we remove this, we will find all references, specifically on the variable. I think I had more than one variable highlighted. So this needs to now be, again, this should not be directly referencing a variable. It should be directly referencing a function, and the function can figure out whether or not there's a current active character, but for the sake of time, we're going to go here and say if this is not equal, or if it does not equal null, then the action panel is active. And then here we want to do this. I will make a function because this is a pretty big deal. We're going to do void perform action. And this is going to be, I guess, taking an index, because this is going to take in which action button you pressed, and then we'll need to look up in that character what action that is, and then perform that action. Once the action is done, then we continue with the main game. But simplistic form of this is going to be that current active characters dot m. Again, this should be calling to a function, but we're going to hard code some things really quickly here just for the sake of getting this up and running. Current active characters, AB current equals 0. And then current active character is equal to null again, so that everything goes back to updating until we get another ready character. Now, is this ready? We did set a variable in here, so we also need to make sure that we set that ready variable to false because it's no longer ready. This is where, if this was a function, we could do that all in one function. Okay, that's probably the first thing I'm going to do once this works, is fix that. And then this needs to call to perform action, and because this was button input 1, this would call button input 1. Honestly, again, there's some really good optimizations here. So instead of calling button input 1, this function could be called button input received, and it takes an index, and that index is the index of the button that was pressed. That makes more sense. We're not going to do anything with this index right now, but we would if there was an actual action to perform that we had set up. Okay. Because we changed some variable names, we're going to have to reset up some buttons. Specifically the action button. Oh, we never finished setting this up regardless. We want to reference the view manager in here. At some point we lost music. Button input received. We'll say that this is button 0, so it'll pass in 0. But if we were to make more buttons, each of them could call a different index to this function. It could be 0, the next button could be 1, the button after that could be whatever. Okay. I mean, honestly, the problem with this is that I wish I had a proper player for this music, but it's a WAV file, and I don't have VLC to install right now to play in the background. Although this is just a set of music that I found on the Unity Asset Store for free, so there's a good chance this YouTube video could get hit for all of this music that I'm playing. But again, I don't have any royalty-free music. Normally we have the music of video games when I talk, and I just don't like the silence. So if we get hit, we get hit. And it's not the biggest deal. Until this video blows up and has like 1 million views, and they'll be so sad that I put it on this random track. I don't. It's not going to happen. All right, so moving on. We have this command button. That's going to do a thing. I think we're good. I think we're good. I do like that the action panel turned off automatically. That's pretty rad. Nothing is filling. Okay, why is nothing filling? So we've written something poorly. Bugs. This is our first time encountering bugs. If this does not equal null. Oh, this should be if it equals null. Yay, bugs. So if this equals null, we can update. Otherwise, when we check for ready active player, if any character is ready, we'll set it to something. Okay. Okay, bars are filling. We fixed the one bug. So far, one stream, 2.5 hours, one bug. Pretty good. Oh, yeah. We made a progress bar simulator. Look at that. I mean, it does a thing. I mean, it doesn't do a lot of things, but it does a thing. You know what? I got a pretty big smile on. I mean, this is a silly stream, but I'm pretty happy. It's just over 2 hours installing Unity from fresh, having to reinstall Visual Studio and having to set everything up. I mean, it's pretty rudimentary, but for the first time doing something like this, I'm feeling pretty good about level of progress. Feeling pretty good. One day we'll kill this blue dragon. It's just a matter of time. Just gotta keep attacking. Don't stop attacking. Really good additions to this would be, right now this thing flashes on and off. It'd be nice if there was a bit of a tween, some sort of animation essentially is what I mean when I say tween. I think tween comes from like I don't know where tween comes from. I knew this once upon a time, but in video games you tween things, you animate them, you move them. But having this thing kind of fade in and out a little bit, that would help. I mean, Audio Manager is a completely different thing that we could sit down for literally another 2-hour stream and just build up an Audio Manager to play a lot of these sound effects and stuff. I mean, it's not hard. Maybe it wouldn't be 2 hours. Bet you we could do it in like half an hour to an hour. Okay, so, oh man, we lined it up. We did it. Well, it took forever, but we made. There's no point. Don't try and make it into a point. It's not a point. All right, so what time is it? Where are we at? Okay, we're only 10 minutes out from when I said I had a hard cutoff. This seems like a pretty good place to call it. Maybe for these last few minutes, is there anything that like I don't know. I want to say questions, but I don't feel like there's room for questions. Maybe it's room for my questions. Did you guys enjoy this? I know there's 11 of you watching, which is more than we've seen, I guess, somewhat recently. I assume that there's something to this then that you guys are enjoying. Well, now we're down to 10. You're not even gonna listen to me finish talking. You're gonna just leave. All right. Well, that's fine too. All right. Okay. I mean, if it was fun, and you guys enjoyed it, then I'm willing to come back and continue doing this. Honestly, the biggest part was getting all of this set up. We have Visual Studio set up now. We have Unity set up. We have most of the streaming stuff set up in such a way that this is working on the display. I think we're good to continue building, and we have singletons. I mean, what are we gonna? We have singletons. It's amazing. I mean, we could do anything now. What would next steps be? So I think that the next things I'd like to do is, okay, there's a couple things I'd like to do. Number one, I would really love to build show building a data entry thing, a system that actually had a series of values for attack, and each character can have different attack values. These probably shouldn't even be direct values. These should probably be like some sort of modifier that gets times by a percentage based on the character's level, so that at each level this number goes up. So maybe there should be an attack per level, and maybe a base attack that the character starts at, and then getting all of this in a spreadsheet form, and then using this spreadsheet to import into the game via a parser, and then once that gets imported into the game, put into files, and then using those files when we hit play to generate data, so that these characters' initiative, attack values, all that stuff is coming from a spreadsheet. That way, if we want to go modify a specific character's values, we're not going into code, we're going in here, modifying some stuff, re-importing it into the game, and the game just updates. So that would probably be one of the things I'd like to try and do, data entry essentially. Other parts of just getting this battle simulator up and running would be getting it so that each of these characters, which these aren't even characters, let's not kid ourselves, this is a reference image, this is what we actually created. The reference image just adds a lot of validity to it, but we would want to get characters spawning onto the screen. We would want to have those characters have honestly command lists. Those command lists should also be in some form related to data entry as well. That's the reason why data entry would be nice, is that would allow us to create a lot of that stuff. But we would have commands. You would click that command would then need to execute. You would see some sort of text fly off the enemy that you attack. Honestly, there should be a state in between here where when I hit attack, I get to select the enemy I want to attack. So then the action is performed. There's a ton of stuff that would need to be done in order to get this to a fully functional, like RPG, like super basic Final Fantasy IV style. Character steps forward, does a slash, damage comes off, moves on to the next character. Once all the enemies are dead, victory plays, and then we go back to what I would assume to be a main screen. But there was probably at least several streams of just getting the combat side of it up and running. Even if we could build a thing that just goes generate a random encounter, and it generates a random encounter, you fight your way through it, and then it goes back to a screen that's just a big button that says generate another random encounter, and then you just keep clicking that and going through the combat. Building a state machine would also be another good idea at some point. State machines can be certainly very helpful. Okay. So I'll think about what the next step is. Maybe it's data entry, because that's probably just going to be helpful in general. And I think it's a pretty cool thing. It's something I get really excited about. Don't ask me why. I just really like spreadsheet entry into games. Then we'll move on to, once we got data entry, maybe into like actually performing an attack with a character. Probably actually generating characters on the screen would be good. If we can find it, there might even be the possibility of 2D sprite character animations and hooking up animations. I mean, these are all things. These are all things we can do. That all being said, the likelihood of any of this actually becoming a product that is shippable or playable in any form, highly unlikely. But I like just playing with Unity because I learn things. I get to continue to expand my skill sets. And at the end of the day, I think it's mostly about having fun. But just want to put that stipulation in. Okay, did I ramble for 10 minutes? Pretty close. I'll be honest, I guess I haven't rambled till the sun goes down for quite some time. Don't have the same level of nonsense. Hey, it finally loaded. Yeah, so there's sprite sheets that we could use try and hook up some 2D animation stuff for these characters so that they idle in place, and then when we perform an action, they actually animate with an attack. That'd be really cool to set up too. Try and do some 2D animation stuff. Super interested in maybe doing some of that. Yeah. Thanks for everything. Thanks for watching. Thanks for giving feedback. Hope I responded quickly enough. There were some points where I was in the zone and I saw a bunch of text fly by and had to check back in after, but I think overall this went really well. Thanks for watching. For now, this will be Totally signing out. Later, guys.